no. I don't understand. And please don't hate me for what I'm about to say. When you're reading, it just feels like, okay, like la-di-da, this is fun, whatever, and then hi everyone, it's me. Okay guys, we are going to do another video where I read the highest rated book on my TBR and the lowest rated book on my TBR because I did this video once and you absolutely loved it. We're gonna do it again. Without further ado, we're not gonna ramble at all in this video. We're gonna get straight into business. Behind me, right here, oh, my rug is all messed up. Right here is the entirety of my physical TBR. So everything in here I need to read. And so right now it's not in like any particular order. It's just kind of like thrown, tossed in there. So just to give you guys a visual of what is actually like higher rated versus lower rated, we are going to stack them all in a pile with lowest rated at the bottom and highest rated at the top so we can figure out what we're gonna read. So let's just get started. And I am using Goodreads. Those are the ratings that we will be using. We're gonna sort from lowest average rating to highest average rating. And let's just start. Starting to get to the point where we're losing structural integrity and it's starting to wobble a little, but we're gonna keep going. Oh no. Okay, I might have to divide this into two piles. Yeah, I'm gonna have to split this. This is not good. Okay. I swear the last time I did this, What the River Knows was like left out of the stack for some reason. Oh shoot. This book for some reason was not on my TBR Goodreads list, so now I have this entire pile and I don't know where What the River Knows fits in because I didn't see it on my Goodreads TBR list, and I swear I added it to my Goodreads want to read list, but for some reason it's left out, like I didn't see it while I was scrolling. Again, why does this always get left out? Anyways, I have these three books that got missed out while creating these stacks, so now I'm gonna have to figure out where they fit. Okay, ooh, that's pretty high. I have a book that I need to insert down here. This happened to me last time. Disassemble. Okay, before I reassemble, I'm gonna see where What the River Knows fits in. Why is What the River Knows not on my list again? I don't understand. Okay, I got it. Okay, I think we managed to do it. So let me give you a tour of these little book stacks I have. I have this massive book stack and then I have this mini one. So we start down here. So it looks like the lowest rated book that I'm gonna be reading in this video is Lunar Love by Lauren Kung Jessen. And that has a 3.49 rating, which is probably the lowest rated book that I have probably ever owned. So that's gonna be really interesting to read to see why it's a 3.49, to see how much I like the book versus, I don't know, maybe some other people didn't like it. Who knows? We'll see. So that's gonna be the first book we're gonna read in this video. Just scrolling up to show you a little bit more. I guess these are like the middle low tier. These are like the middle high rated books that I have on my Goodreads. I really, really want to read 5 Broken Blades. I'm kind of sad that I don't get to read it in this video, but I gotta follow the rules, and so yeah, I'm not gonna read that. And then I have this smaller book stack, and here are the absolute highest rated books on my TBR, which I feel like is a really interesting selection actually. We've got some classics. We've got one classic, you know, we have Little Women here. We have a couple more like well-known authors here, I guess, like Holly Jackson, Stephen King, etc. And then I have like actually a bunch of like gifted books and ARCs up here as the top rated, which is really fun. So Jessica Girk is one of my subscribers. Hello Jessica, if you're watching this, and she did send me a couple of her books, which I still have not gotten into. I'm so sorry. But 2 of her books are at the top of my list in terms of highly rated, so that is awesome. Devil is Fine here is actually an ARC that I received that I also have not gotten to by John Vercher, and that's really highly rated as well, which is cool. But the top of the list is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, which I know is actually a newer release, so it makes sense that it is higher on the list. But I also know that Kennedy Ryan is a really, really awesome author, and so yeah, I can see why that's up there. But okay, I know I just made these lovely book stacks, but I am going to be including my Kindle books in this video, which is something I didn't do the last time I did this sort of a challenge video. I haven't been using my Kindle as often as I should be, and so it's just sitting on my desk over there collecting dust. It has not been used in a few weeks now, and I feel like my Kindle just needs some love. And I'm sorry, I apologize to Kennedy Ryan, but I do have some books on my Kindle that are indeed rated higher. So above This Could Be Us on my Kindle, I have The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, which is the Mistborn #3 book, which I actually cannot read right now because I haven't read Mistborn 2 yet. But in spirit of Brandon Sanderson actually taking that top spot with the 4.54 rating, I am going to read Mistborn 2, which also has a very, very high rating. So Mistborn 2 is called The Well of Ascension, and it has a 4.38, which is pretty dang high. And that has 476,000 ratings, and it has a 4.38. So that is very, very, very high. So the lowest rated book, I am going to read Lunar Love down here in my stack. And then for the highest rated book, it's gonna be Brandon Sanderson. I read Mistborn a few months ago, or like more than a few months ago, and I feel like I just need to get back into that world, get back into that series, and just like read it before everything leaves my mind, because I feel like I've already forgotten quite a bit about what happens in that book. I think the world is like still familiar to me, and the magic system I still understand like the basics of at least, but I feel like I need to jump back into that world before it just leaves my mind. So those are gonna be the two books we're gonna read in this video. I am going to start with Lunar Love first, because similar to the last time I did this type of video, I feel like it would just be unfair to read the highest rated book first and then read the lowest rated book. I'm gonna go into both books with like, you know, a clear, fresh mind, and like try not to let the Goodreads ratings get in my way of like what I personally think of the book. I just feel like if I start with a really high rated book and then go to a really low rated book, I feel like it's just like not giving the low rated book a chance. Do you know what I mean? Anyways, hope you enjoyed my book stack. Those are our book selections.
Look out, here she comes, the woman that I love.
Okay, so I did start Lunar Love yesterday. I was actually finishing up another book yesterday. I just read The Paradise Problem. That's the new Christina Lauren release. And yeah, I was just like in the middle of that. So I took the day yesterday to finish that off. So I just like, you know, just barely started nibbling at Lunar Love last night. I read up to chapter 3. So this is a really fun, cute premise. It is a contemporary romance. We follow a girl named Olivia who is taking over her family matchmaking business. This matchmaking service isn't just like a regular matchmaking service. It is based on the Chinese zodiac and how like different Chinese zodiac signs are compatible with each other. So it's like very traditional. It's based on a lot of like cultural history and all that stuff. So that's Olivia. At the beginning of the book, she goes to this bakery and runs into this guy. I don't think I even know what the guy's name is yet, but she runs into this guy in this bakery. They have this like really meet cute kind of a scene, and she can't stop thinking about him. Later, I'm not at this part yet, but on the back of the book, it implies that this guy is actually he's developing a dating app that is kind of like based on the Chinese zodiac, but it's like not quite the traditional methods, you know? It's more like a Tinder type of an app, but this guy's kind of using like the basis of Olivia's family's long-run cultural historical matchmaking service and like turning it into an app. So he's basically her direct rival now, and then the two of them actually make a deal. So they decide that they will try to find a match with each other using their own methods. I guess like he would use his app and she would use her more traditional matchmaking method, and whoever falls in love first loses. That is the premise of Lunar Love. I think it sounds so fun, right? It just sounds so cute, so fun. I love like the Chinese cultural themes in here, obviously. And yeah, so first impressions, I think it's cute so far. It's really quick reading. It's nice and light, a good like summer romance read, I think. And the first scene, or one of the first scenes, takes place at a Chinese bakery, as I mentioned, and oh my goodness, you guys, I was like, the level of detail and the amount of like Chinese pastries mentioned in this first chapter, I was like salivating. I was like getting so hungry reading this. Every item of food that was mentioned, I was like, like, yeah, I want one of those. I was like loving this first chapter. I was eating it up. The banter was not the best banter that I have read before, I will say. It was fine, but it was nothing like new or like super sparkly. It didn't make me like giggle and kick my feet, you know what I mean? But we'll see how the story progresses. I'm really excited to read on. Again, it's like a super quick, fast, easy read. I'm interested in seeing how the story unfolds, so we'll keep going.
I'm a ghost in these walls, or at least I try to be. 'Cause I hope that I'm not showing how I feel for her, but she won't feel the same for me. I've got this.
Guys, I really wanted to like this book so badly. I wanted to love it so badly. And I know it had like, you know, not the best rating on Goodreads, but I wanted it to like defy the odds. You know, we love an underdog, and I loved the premise of this book so much that I really wanted to love it. But I couldn't really get into it. And that's a little bit sad for me. I did read it very quick, which is why I didn't do like too many updates with you guys on how I was doing. I literally read this book in like 1.5 days. But yeah, I don't know, just in terms of like a romance, this just didn't do it for me because of a couple different reasons. The first one is I did mention that, you know, most romances are not like mind-blowing in terms of the plot. Like they're very predictable. You know where things are going most of the time. And so for me, what makes a good romance is really like the witty banter, how it's written. Writing style, I think, is really important, especially for romances, because the plot can be so repetitive and boring and predictable. You need that like flair in your writing style to make it, you know, stand out from other romances. And then I didn't understand like the attraction or the relationship between the female main character and the male main character. To me, Olivia, the female character, just seemed like very annoying, to be honest. She was very stuck in her ways, set in her tradition, which I know is like the main point of the story. Like she was supposed to represent like traditional, and then he was supposed to represent like the new and modern. They were coming together and like teaching each other things. But the way they were talking to each other, I was just like, I don't understand the chemistry. Like, I don't know why she likes him. I don't know why he likes her. They just seemed to be talking about their matchmaking businesses the entire time throughout this book, and there wasn't really much personal development going on with either character, I don't think. I don't know, it just seemed like the entire book she was in opposition of him, and then he was just like, okay, well, whatever, like, you have your opinion, I can accept that, and then she was just like so oppositional. Then another thing is, I feel like in romances, a lot of the side story is also very important in making a good romance. Like there wasn't really too much going on in terms of side plot or like actual plot. It was just like the two characters having meetings throughout the entire book, and there wasn't like much going on the side. So sadly, I did not really enjoy Lunar Love. And I always hate rating a book less than 3 stars because I feel like I'm being mean when I do that, but I'm gonna have to give this book a 2.5. I think it had so much potential, but yeah, just the way it was written, the way things unfolded, it was just honestly boring for me, and that's very sad. To end this little review on a positive note, I will say that any reference to food was amazing in this book. I feel like she was really successful in putting emotion into food, you know what I mean? Like using food to express things. Unfortunately, not a good start. I really wish I liked that book, but I can see why it was like not rated so high on Goodreads. I did start with The Well of Ascension, which is our highest rated book for this week. As I mentioned before, this is the second book in the Mistborn series by Sanderson. And if you haven't read Mistborn before, if you don't know about it, it's basically a high fantasy. It's set in this really cool world where there's a metal-based magic system that's like a little bit complex, but also straightforward at the same time. In the first book, we kind of get this misfit crew put together, kind of like Six of Crows-ish, but like more happy, like more cheerful, like less grungy than Six of Crows, but kind of the same idea, where one leader gets a crew of people together to pull off. In Six of Crows, it was a heist. In Mistborn, it was like an overthrowing of the evil, he's called the Lord Ruler, like he was just like the evil, you know, big bad guy. It's multi-POV, and yeah, it's set in a really interesting world. I did mention before that I was kind of worried that I had already forgotten a lot of what happened in the first Mistborn book because I did read it quite a few months ago, and I've read a lot of books since. But when I got into this, I realized I had nothing to worry about because Brandon Sanderson, thank goodness, at the beginning of the book, he did this like really clever thing where we had sort of an action sequence, but the way it was written, Brandon Sanderson basically like re-explained the magic system and recapped very quickly what happened in the previous book, like right at the beginning of this one. Brando Sando really helped us out there. So yeah, I started this yesterday. I actually read like I think around 100 pages yesterday, which is quite a bit. I'm not like emotionally invested in it yet because I don't know. I feel like Brandon Sanderson's books are just like more of a slow burn. Not like a slow burn romance, but like a slow burn in terms of like you getting into the book. Like when you're reading, it just feels like, okay, like la-di-da, this is fun, whatever. And then at the very end of his books is when you realize how invested you truly are. That's the feeling I get from his books. But yeah, I'm just gonna continue to read this Well of Ascension and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I will enjoy this one more than I enjoyed Lunar Love.
Yesterday, there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane, and as the light...
I am so sorry for what I'm about to say, and please don't hate me for what I'm about to say, but I have been wondering why I don't like Brandon Sanderson's writing style. Okay, let's get into it a little bit. First of all, I'm at around page like 230 in The Well of Ascension now. So far, I am loving the story. And I will say this, I do love Brandon Sanderson's stories. I do love his world. I do love the characters he creates and the journeys he takes us on. I think his stories are really, truly engaging, but I just have not fallen in love with his writing the way I wanted to. And I've been trying to like fathom why in the heck I don't like vibe with his writing style. And I finally think I've discovered what I don't like about it. So I'm feeling it in this book. I did feel it in Tress as well. I'm not sure if I felt it in the first Mistborn, but I wonder if it's just because I was so new to it and like I was just trying to digest everything that was happening. But basically, okay, Brandon Sanderson is an over-explainer. That's it. He explains everything over and over and over and over again so many times that it makes me feel like I'm a dummy reading it or like I'm being treated as a dummy. You know what I mean? When like you understand something because a writer has explained something to you like 10 times before, but then they're explaining it to you again and you feel like you're being treated like a child a little bit. I feel that way when reading this. And I know Brandon Sanderson is such a beloved author and I can see it. I can see why people enjoy his books and his stories so much, but this is just my personal opinion, okay? So again, like please don't attack me for this. But basically, yesterday I was talking to you guys about how when I started into the Well of Ascension, I was so happy that the magic system was being re-explained to me because it had been a few months since reading Mistborn and I feel like I needed that little lesson again. I needed like a quick Mistborn for Dummies explanation at the beginning of the book and I loved it. I thought it worked really well. But then it kept happening, the re-explaining of the magic system, of exactly how things work. Not only of allomancy, which is like the primary magic system in this book, but also the magic system of the Terracemen, which is like a secondary magic system. We get these magic systems explained to us over and over and over and over again. Like every single time the magic is used, we get at least one sentence, like a little blurb, explaining like the cause and effect of using that metal. And I'm like, but I know, like I know at this point what that metal does and I don't need it explained to me again and it just takes me out of the story because I'm like, yeah, I just want to see things happening. I want to see like what's going on in this action sequence, but the action sequence is being slowed down because everything that happens is being explained again. You know what I mean? I think I wrote something down. Oh yeah, there's another thing that kept being explained to us, and I did write this down, but there's this one character, without getting spoilery, okay, I'm gonna be really vague here, but there's this one character that has these metal spikes for eyes. Like instead of eyes, like there have been metal spikes pierced into his eyes all the way to the back of his head, and every time we see this character, the person's POV who we're in thinks, yeah, I wonder how that person is still alive with spikes in his eyes. It's a mystery to me. And like, sure, I get it. That's kind of weird for someone to have spikes in their eyes and for them to still be alive. But literally every time this character shows up, someone says or thinks, I wonder how that character is still alive because they have spikes in their eyes. It's like, I get it. It's been said, we've been there, done that. I just think it's very disorienting because this series is very clearly written for adults. Like the things that happen are much darker than what you'd expect for like something YA. We get more like gory-ish descriptions of things, like just more horrible things that happen that would make the content of this book not YA friendly. But I feel like the writing style is YA or even younger because of the way things are just being like spoon-fed, over-explained to us, like as if we were 10 years old. I just don't vibe with it. I just don't vibe with it. And I think that's why when I was reading Mistborn even, and I really ended up enjoying Mistborn, but like while I was reading it, I was like, why does this feel like it is so slow and why are the vibes not here? Because technically this world is really cool. I really vibe with the magic system. I really like the story and what's going on, but the atmosphere is not there. And it's because of the over-explaining. And I feel like I just over-explained this rant to you because I've just repeated myself so many times. So yeah, I don't know. Does anyone else feel this? Is it just me? I don't mean to say this to hate on Brando Sando. Again, he's very respected. I respect him as an author. He's written so many books. Obviously, he's doing something right. But this is just something that really bugs me when reading his books. That's what I think. The story though is really good, and I will keep reading this book because I'm invested in the story, but yeah, just things like that. They've just been taking me out of it, you know what I mean? Anyways. Good morning, guys. It is like I don't even know how many days later it is, but it's a while later. I finally finished The Well of Ascension over the weekend, and I'm actually on to The Hero of Ages, which is the third book in the Mistborn series and the finale of the Mistborn series. But just to talk about The Well of Ascension. I know I was kind of like ranting to you in my last update on how I was not enjoying the writing style, but I was enjoying the story. And I feel like that kind of stayed consistent throughout the whole book. Maybe I stopped noticing the writing style as much like near the end just because the story gets a lot more involved. I feel like it gets a little bit more complex and emotional and high stakes, and a lot more things happen, so you get more like absorbed into the story and kind of like forget about the writing style, you know, when that happens. But I don't know. I just think the writing's not bad. It's definitely not bad, but I do think there is a lot of like over-explaining that happens, and it definitely adds to the length of the book. I feel like this book could have been maybe 600 pages versus 815. By the time you're like 85% into the second book of a series, for example, you're obviously already very familiar with the magic system. You don't need like a sentence or two explaining every single action move that happens in a fight sequence. Like by then you don't need that anymore. So it bugged me, but the story was really good. I'm obviously invested in these characters now, so I am moving on to the third book, and I've heard that the third book is like unreal. So I'm really excited to get into it, and I will update you guys on how I do. I think I'm gonna finish it this month, and I'll include it in my May wrap-up video. So definitely stay tuned and watch that if you want my final thoughts on the third book and the series as a whole. But for The Well of Ascension, I gave it a solid 4 stars. Again, I really liked the story. I really like the characters. I like what's going on in the world, and it's really interesting to me. But I will say, the end, how do I say this without spoiling things? If you've read The Well of Ascension, you will know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't read it, this is just gonna be very vague in general, so it won't be really a spoiler, but there is sort of a big twist at the end, like a big reveal that happens, and basically something that we've been like working towards for the entire book. There's this big reveal that happens at the end, and it kind of like negates everything that we've been working towards. And it's meant to be, yeah, this big twist, this big like gasp, like moment. And the way it was done, I found it to be a little bit cheap and like too easy. Like I found it was kind of a cheat. I was like, really? I don't know if I believe this twist. I get it, but I didn't really like how it was executed. Like it just seemed too easy, too convenient of a twist. It wasn't really explained very well. It was just like, oh, never mind, it's actually this. So I had some issues with that, but overall I'm invested. I'm gonna finish up the series for sure, but I don't know. know. I feel like I haven't been liking Brandon Sanderson as much as I wanted to. Like maybe he's been overhyped for me, sadly. I know a lot of you guys love Brandon Sanderson and all of his books and his entire universe, and I think they're good. I'm not saying they're not good, but I haven't fallen in love with his books yet. And a lot of it might have to do with his writing style. Again, like just the over-explaining takes me out of the story so much. I feel like I can't like fully immerse myself in the story because I just keep getting taken out because of the writing style. That's probably an unpopular opinion because again, like he's so popular. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. So I did read the lowest rated book and the highest rated book on my current TBR. I definitely did enjoy the higher rated book more, although it wasn't like the perfect book for me. I feel like it's always interesting to see if you agree with like the general public reviews or if you disagree. And I guess for today's video, in this case, I do generally agree with the ratings. That being said, I'm gonna leave you guys here for now. So if you did like this video, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know what you are currently reading. And if you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!